let me get the ball rolling this way, Tim.
Yeah.
Did you play bagpipes for the Old Glory Vintage Dancers at their Dickens Ball last Christmas time?
Yes, I did.
I was there.
Okay.
Have you ever done stuff for them before? Or was that a first?
I had done their Valentine's Ball, whatever that is, the
Regency Romance Ball. That's the best one. I love that.
I didn't play there, but I attended.
Oh, did you really? You attended? We've probably danced together, Tim.
I've got that big kind of metallic blue coat. It's pretty distinguishing.
I know the coat you're talking about. I've definitely seen you there. You know, worlds colliding, right? If you'd been wearing a kilt, I would have gone, oh yeah, I see that guy around. But of course, since you weren't in one, I would never would have realized, right? But that's my wife and I love those gatherings. We go to those all the time.
Oh, it's super fun. Yeah, I mean, there's I'll focus on like the piping and piping related stuff because I've got a whole other thing where I work for myself. I design board games. I have all this.
Whoa. Okay, now listen, Tim. You can tell me about the board. You can tell me about the piping. That's fine. But that sounds really cool. And look. Part of the focus of the show here is that, like, your piping friends, we all get to know your piping side because we see you at practice or at Highland Games, stuff like that. I do want to know some of that other stuff. You design board games. Is that what you do for yourself full time? Is that all game design?
Yeah.
You're living my dream. I know that never sounds like because you're living it, you also know the nightmare side of it. So I know that never is quite fair. But seriously,
I'll take
that's
it.
Cool.
Yeah,
that's really cool.
So let me know when you want to fire up, and we'll go for it.
Dude, we're fired up. Tell me about it right now.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure there's like an intro part we're missing. Or...
No way, man. I'm nowhere near so professional as this morning. It will attest to your experience thus far.
Okay.
No, dude. I'm just a buddy who's excited to hear about your entire life story, especially your game design. How the heck did that happen?
Yeah, I mean, kind of the broad strokes is I met my wife at college. We were at BYU, got married, and I ended up I did a degree in physics, and
logical course takes you to game design, of course. Yeah.
No, yeah. I'm saying we'll get there. So we ended up with I was kind of in medical imaging or something, and I just kind of got this spark where I was really excited about board games and kind of indie video game production, and me and a coworker got excited, started to do some side projects, and one day I just kind of like decided that I really wanted to pursue that, and my wife was supportive, and we ended up moving to some crazy places. We were in Utah at the time. We ended up in California, and then ended up in Kentucky, and kind of through a long process got pretty decent at game design, and we had it. So we did indie video. Me and my friend did indie video games for a couple of years, and then that kind of started to wind down, and so I ended up in the industry, in like the video game industry.
Were your indie designs always for the same consoles, or was it like, computer only, or like what kind of?
It was mostly, it was computer only, pretty much. But I was at the same time I had a lot of interest, and I was spinning up. Eventually started spinning up some prototypes of board games alongside that, and then I ended up, and so then I went into industry. I worked for a couple of years at Amazon Game Studios in Southern California, and learned a lot there. And then and it's one of those guys. I'm just one of those guys. It's like I have more ideas than I have time for.
Yeah, I hear you.
And so And so whenever I'd work at a job, I would always have ideas and stuff I wanted to pursue, and I'd work on weekends on prototypes and stuff and bring them in, and most bosses were supportive but not realistically going to pursue any of my crazy ideas.
Yeah.
And so that kind of, after a while I just realized I really need to do my own thing. And so I started, while I was at Amazon, I started spinning up board games as a side hustle.
And when you say board games, was it always very specifically games that had boards for playing on, or was it also like
no, it's a broader term.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah. In board games, it could be a card game, it could be a board game, but that's the general term. And Yeah, I ended up doing a couple of Kickstarters while I was at Amazon, and then it from there it grew into like my second Kickstarter for Burgle Bros, which is like a cooperative heist game. Really took off, and I was like, okay, well, I think I need to do this full time. So I moved back to Utah in 2015 because the cost of living was so low here that I could start doing it full time sooner than later.
Yeah.
And I've been in Utah since. And so I have, if you go on Kickstarter, Fowers.games is my website. I mostly sell direct to people, and it's been very sustainable. So.
That's so cool, man. As you've been talking, like I'm looking at some of the Burgle Bros stuff right now and everything. I'm embarrassed to say I haven't played it. Now I'm gonna have to get it for sure. I wish I could be like, Burgle Bros, that's you, dude. I play that all the time.
you might have heard of Paperback. That has been in Barnes and Noble, but
got you, yeah.
Mostly the way I've done the business model is it's mostly direct, which is like a word of mouth, really. So it's like because I just make games that are unique enough that people tell their friends about, and that's actually worked out really well.
That's a cool community for sure. I know that, like, oh, sorry, my levels are suddenly really hot. I know that my personal complete immersion in the world of like indie gaming and stuff like that is not super high, but my wife's family is, in particular her brother, and so we get pulled into lots of sort of like new on the market games. We have participated in some game Kickstarters and stuff like that, and looking at Paperback Adventures, I definitely have seen this one around. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, so I've kind of built up a little cadre of co-designers and people and artists and stuff that help me make stuff, but I don't have like a studio proper. It's kind of ad hoc.
That's pretty cool though, man. So that's so then, like, how does this correspond with running into bagpipes? Did you start bagpiping pre-college, or was
No, I had never done an instrument.
Nothing at all, really.
Never. I mean, I'd done very brief stints with when my parents attempted to get me to play.
Forced
things.
You to play piano and stuff.
Yeah. But I'd never really done anything, and it was kind of just. I don't know. I kind of like. I think it kind of started with in kind of the board game industry, and a lot of the conventions. Kilts coming from Ren Fair had become pretty common.
Oh, sure.
At some point I was like, oh, I'll get a kilt. That'll be fun, And so I had a kilt I'd wear on special occasions and whatnot. And then that kind of evolved into people started asking, well, when are you going to play the bagpipes? I'm like, well, maybe I will. And then I had read that like. Playing an instrument was just a good kind of brain exercise, and it was just kind of, and so, I just kind of picked it up as as a challenge. I'm like, well, let's see if this goes somewhere. Mm-hmm. And I had an uncle he's very proficient on all these different things. He's like, oh, bagpipes are easy. It's only 9 notes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and so I just, I dove in. I got a teacher. I was up in Ogden. I got a teacher, and then I moved down to Centerville. I got started learning under Andrew Morrill, and so I did the chanter for a while, and it was super rough, just working my way up. And I did my research, and I looking at a lot of pipers, they had they'd been around for a long time. They seemed to kind of get burnt out on kind of the competitive scene and kind of some of the drama that can happen in pipe bands. And so I decided...
You were kind of living in the middle of the most recent, biggest drama in the local pipe band scene, too. Right up there with the split of Wasatch and Utah and everything, too. So.
Oh, yeah. It's like the most Scottish thing ever. How they
Isn't it? Right.
It's true to form. So yeah, I'm very aware of it. But also just online, I just seen a lot of people that like weren't enjoying the instrument for the instrument. They were just kind of like very much like... committed in certain ways, but not able to enjoy it. So I did some research, and I explicitly found some border pipes that were like the only thing that seemed to be between small pipes and Highlands. Like they were the only, like, volume wise, and they were like, I had actually a really hard read, and I didn't know it. and so the whole time it was actually pretty difficult to play because I never softened the reed or whatever. But I stuck with it, and so I did that for a while, and it kind of worked because you could kind of play indoors or outdoors, and I also just pursued the things that I wanted to play, like just fun tunes and whatnot, and I learned Scottish and Irish stuff, and I also got very much into hymns, and I played quite a bit of those. So part of what I did is during COVID, I just started posting on. I was getting reasonable, right? So, well, the first thing I did is I started playing outside church. So, like, as people were coming to church, because I live in a pretty small community, I would just play as people came to church, and people really enjoyed it. And I was pretty bad at the beginning, and I could only maybe do a handful of tunes, and I got better and better. And so what I did is during COVID, I started to post on different community pages all across the Wasatch Front, and just be like, hey, I know we're all stuck inside. No one's going to church. Could I just come to your, cul-de-sac or your neighborhood and play, some hymns for you? And I got tons of responses. And so almost, very frequently, almost every Sunday for a while there during the worst of COVID, I was going out and playing for people, and I just really enjoyed it. They enjoyed it. I didn't ask for any money.
By that point, were you on Highland pipes, or were you taking your border pipes out?
I was on borders.
Because I thought, maybe I'm not remembering right, but I was thinking when I saw you play at the Dickens Ball, you were on Highland pipes. Was I?
Yeah. But
okay.
I mean, that's much later, right? That's
Yeah.
So towards the end of COVID, I'm just like, okay, and I had and towards the end of kind of that playing, I had my teacher Andrew Morrill come out to one of my events and play, and I just realized like how balanced and kind of evolved the Highland pipes were when it comes to the balance between the drone volume and the chanter and whatnot. I realized I had a really dominant chanter, and you couldn't really hear the drones.
It is interesting to me, Tim. Like I don't know anybody else who's gone border pipes first and then somewhere else. Because it feels to me like, at least for me personally, border pipes, I like them now, but they were an acquired taste for me for exactly that reason. Like they were a little too brash, like a little too harsh on the chanter in a lot of ways, that it took a while. Yeah. So you've taken an interesting path to
yeah. Well, and it was just like I didn't really want to do. I did explicitly find something that had the same fingering as other pipes, so I could move into them. And for whatever reason, I didn't really want to get into bellows. So I've stuck with mouth blown since then. So basically I split. I got some McClellan studio pipes, which are just some Darylin mouth blown pipes, and I kind of played with which chanters to use. I just ended up with a high A and a low A, and I practice with them. I love them. They're all synthetic, and so that was actually before I did Highlands. Was it? I'm getting the thing out of order. But so basically I split. I got a quieter set to play indoors, and then from Andrew, who makes incredible pipes. Yeah. I finally am like, let's give this a shot, and they were easier. They were easier than like my borders. I'm like, oh wow. This is not bad. I mean, I get relatively soft reeds, but still, like I had been wrestling with those borders for years, and I'm like, this is not that bad.
That's a great experience to have. That's awesome.
And
you
so
feel like a superhero all of a sudden.
I'm just like, oh, this, it's and so I haven't done as much like kind of random community things, but I definitely I just keep finding different events. Like for St. Paddy's Day, I went around to a lot of the Catholic schools and played. On previous years I'd go to my kids' schools and play as everyone's going into class at the beginning of the day. And then also I'd go down and so once I got on the Highland pipes, last year I started going down and playing at General Conference. And that's been a lot of fun, and people really enjoy it, and keeps everything really calm.
For anybody uninitiated, that's the biannual. Wait, no, not biannual. Which word means twice a year? Biannual.
Semi-annual.
Semi-annual. That's the semi-annual massive worldwide Mormon gathering, and so to go and play there, there's a lot of people there gathering in Utah.
Yeah. So I'd go down and play in the corner, and the police really appreciate it. They actually said that like when I'm there, There's no drama with protesters. Everything's pretty calm.
Oh, that's
yeah. So they actually
that's
request
an
for me to
interesting
come
point,
at this
yeah.
point.
That's
It
funny.
just keeps.
I have seen before pipers using bagpipes to mask protesting. Of course, they could also be a useful tool for protesting, but that's a
it goes both ways.
Right.
But generally, and what's funny is like a lot of the protesters didn't know that I was playing hymns, and so they thought I was protesting with them. And the members are like, "Oh, well, you're playing our hymns," and so everyone is pretty happy.
Yeah, you're a
with the
super
situation.
efficient double agent there. You can just make both sides happy. That's great.
So, so that's been really fun. I go down around downtown, and play Christmas tunes. I really just look for opportunities to play. I don't try to chase money, because I also saw like a lot of pipers get frustrated with like, they get mad if you do a funeral and don't charge because they want to be able to charge for theirs or whatever. Or, if you go and play at a
pipers before for not charging enough.
or if you go and play at a pub that's their pub, they get really territorial because like whenever there's money involved, the knives come out. And so, I just kind of keep a wide berth around any of that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's just been other things I've done. Like I went out, so I played for the St. Patty's Day parade, and I went around playing Irish stuff. I did it last year, did this year. And the Hibernian Society, which is the Irish association here in Utah, they picked me up and had me come out to the Golden Spike, out at, the promontory point. It's where they finished the railroad, right?
Right.
And the story there is that like my great-grandfather worked for the railroad. He was an Irishman.
That's cool. That's a cool.
And we, so we went out there and my dad told his story, and we still have the watch that they gave him for his retirement. And then I came out and I went out and played Danny Boy and whatnot.
So
because they do, it's like a,
Go ahead.
Well, it was a multicultural thing.
Oh yeah.
And because so they had things from Native Americans and from Chinese and then from the Irish.
Yeah.
So
all the railroad peoples, right?
Yeah. So
is that most of your playing these? So now is most of your playing time done on Highland pipes, or you still get out those border pipes pretty regular?
No, I haven't done them much at all.
Yeah.
I've mostly moved over to Highlands. The sound is good. So whenever I'm playing outside, I play them. And then indoors, I play small pipes. And so in 2021, we went over and we actually lived in England for 5 months.
Oh, wow.
I took my family, and we had some friends over there, and we went and lived in Northumberland.
Did you pick up some Northumbrian pipes when you were there?
Well, I went to the group that played it. I was trying to get someone to actually teach me it.
Yeah.
But they all, the Northumbrian pipes are right there in Annick, and they have a little group that plays. I went to the group not knowing, because it was just like the Annick Bagpipe Association. They didn't say that they were on Northumberlands.
Oh, they didn't.
And I went to the group, and it was 20 people on Northumberlands, and I'm like, oh, okay.
It's a different thing. Look at all that hardware.
I got to interact with them some, and they were super nice. And I would actually play around town a bit as well. So in Annick, they had a town crier.
That's
and
cool.
So he'd come in once a week, and I would walk around town with him, and I'd play some pipes, and he'd do his town crying. And that was fun. Also, they have a thing called park runs in the UK, where it's a 5K in almost every major city, and you can just go to any of them and run. It's kind of a community volunteer thing. And there's one in front of the Annick Castle every Saturday. So me and my son would go run. I had a sport kilt, so I'd actually run in a kilt. It was fun.
Nice.
And I'd bring my pipes, and at the beginning of the race, I'd play Chariots of Fire for everybody on the islands.
That's great. Yeah.
And 2/3 of the people there are just visiting, because it's kind of like a way for people to check out different areas, and people just loved it. But I was going to connect with like Matt Seattle and a lot of people in the scene up there. They weren't very far from me, but it turns out they don't really like mouth blown small pipes. So I didn't really end up connecting with them. They're pretty specific in what they wanted.
I don't know how much to call it tribalism or elitism or what, but it's in every facet of bagpiping, isn't it? You think you can avoid it by not going into competitive piping, but it's everywhere. Everybody's got a strong opinion.
Yeah, but what I did find is there was a local tavern called the John Bull in Anik, and they have a music night every other week. And there was, a lot of kind of, the middle-aged guitarist types that were quite talented.
Yeah.
They were extremely talented. But there was also people that were doing some, cajon, some drums. There was but there was one person there he played accordion. And he'd actually played with Northumberland pipes, and he played with other pipes before. And I was bringing my mouth-blown small pipes, and I got them tuned to A440 so I could kind of play along. And these guys were talented enough they could kind of just play along with anything.
Yeah.
And so you just kind of go around the circle and you play a tune, and other people would play if they could. And they were super supportive. Like this gentleman with the accordion, he had actually composed something for the Highland pipes, and I learned that. And he also gave me some of the other pieces the group pieces that they played, and I worked on those. And I was still rough, and that's my first kind of experience playing with other people, because I'd been playing on my own for so many years. So I was trying to get the timing down, trying to go where I could listen and kind of track with other people, and it was just delightful. I was pretty bad, but like they were super supportive, and I really enjoyed it. And I kind of tried to do a similar thing with the kind of Irish session people when I came back to Utah, because they run the Irish sessions. And I found that they weren't as interested in helping me get up to speed. So I'm like, okay, like it's.
Oh, I think. Let's see. I think Mark might have mentioned you to me when I talked to him. He said that somebody showed up once with small pipes, and that it was hard to get them to work. Because I'd imagine because of keys and stuff.
Yeah,
right?
I was trying to play along, and I tried to reach out to different people in the group to be like, okay, well, what should I learn?
Yeah.
And I just didn't get a lot of response, and I'm just like, the Irish session people just want to play, what's the toss the feathers and their stuff, and they want.
I do. I get that impression sometimes too. Yeah.
And it's fine. I don't want to blame them for
There's
it.
a canon there already, right? And it's like just
they have their tunes that they want to play. Yeah, and so I'm just like, okay, it's fine.
Well, I think Mark is also interested in that local small pipers group that I was trying to get started. So maybe we'll have more chances to interact with him, that we can get some better ideas of how us pipers can break into the scene a bit.
Yeah, because it's like if I knew a couple of tunes, I'd learn them, and I'm interested in do that. And maybe I'll pick up something more directly Irish, like a tin whistle or something. But
yeah, that's one way to do it for sure.
But then my other thing that I've been pursuing is I've been playing with the Emerald Society.
Yeah, cool.
Which I think for me works well because they're explicitly not a competitive band, and it's the local firefighter group. And they've been actually super supportive. They're just kind of like low pressure. It was so low pressure that they weren't entirely sure that I wanted to play with them, like in at different events. But I feel like I'm getting to a point where I got their tunes down. I've got the timing down. Maybe this year sometime I'll start playing with them in parades or whatnot. So
well, Tim, it far be it, like it's not up to. I'm not the arbiter of like quality of piping or anything like that. So I'm not trying to say that like I have any right to even have an opinion. But I think that my assumption is often like the crucible of competition and lots of parades and stuff like that is a big part of what refines a piper's ability to play the Highland pipes.
Sure.
But when you played at the Dickens Ball, I never would have thought that you were anything but, you're the standard, like I would have assumed that you had done those things, you play great.
Oh, well, that's good. I mean, I always worry about playing around other pipers because I'll skip a lot of. I'm getting better at a lot of the grips and whatnot, but I kind of started from a point of because I wasn't competing, I wasn't focusing on as many grace notes.
Yeah.
And now I'm trying to go backfill and get back to where I'm doing the correct ones. But a lot of it was like the instrument is so hard already that
Yeah.
I found focusing on getting to the point that I could play something that I really enjoyed, both like fun stuff like Star Wars, and I mean even like just Scotland the Brave and just kind of the
Sure, yeah.
Amazing Grace stuff, like those, I was really excited to play.
Yeah.
And so I would try to get as quickly as I could to just playing those and enjoying those, and then finding places to play for them. So when I play for an average person, I know that it's, I'm missing things, or my timing's off or whatever, and I've used it to kind of get over stage fright and
Sure, yeah.
nerves and whatnot, but also just because I love the music and I want to keep playing. I've been finding these different events to play at. But now I'm finding that I'm like, okay, there are certain things I can only play with a larger group. And so pursuing both these musical groups and playing in a band, I'm finding very satisfying, and that the hours I put in, individually are starting to pay off. I start to feel like I'm starting to really get some muscle memory, and I can do a lot of things automatically now.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But it's been, I put the time in. But that's great to hear that it wasn't too bad.
No, not at all. And it's funny, like you mentioned, the stress of playing for other pipers. That's, my wife said to me, she's like, "Oh, are you gonna go say hi to him afterward?" And I was like, "No, because I know what that's like. Like, I am way more. Anytime I play for any crowd, I'm thinking to myself, just percentage numbers wise, what are the odds that somebody in this crowd is a piper?" And that's the person who I'm nervous about, right? So I was like, no, I'm not going to go say hi to him, because I wouldn't do that to a fellow piper, just let him enjoy playing and not stress about, because then you find out there was a piper there, and then you're like, oh, wait, how was my D throw? Like, oh,
yeah,
wait,
yeah.
What did I mean? How was my tuning? You start running through your head with it again, so.
Yeah, or the other thing that gets me is, even when I'm playing without anybody, when people get their phones out.
Yes.
And I'm just like, oh no, there's going to be a record of this.
It's going to go on the internet somewhere.
Yeah, and so I mean, a lot of times it's great when I'm playing on my own, because I can just close my eyes. I'm like, when I start to get overwhelmed with people and whatnot. But I mean, I'm getting comfortable enough now, like, especially when I go to the downtown, or I go to conference or something, there's a lot of people that are kind of saying hi, and I really only have my eyes to communicate with.
Yes.
But I'll kind of
Yeah.
give them a nod or whatever,
Yeah.
and there's just kind of, I love that type of interaction, that I can see that they're enjoying it, and taking the whole regalia in is fun to watch their responses.
Right.
And some of them will try to not look at you, and they're smiling, but they're walking quickly past you.
Yeah.
I love that. So.
Well, honestly, Tim, I like some of the things that you hit on, where you talk about like playing things that you enjoy playing, like that. I've heard other pipers who have been in it, deep in the competitive scene for a long time. Have done a lot of years and are very proficient, played at high levels. Traveled to play with world class bands and stuff. Talk about eventually at some point in their life realizing that they want to rediscover the joy of playing, because somehow, and it's this balance, right? Because like you mentioned, there's also this thing where putting in the reps, doing the work, can also increase your enjoyment, because it increases your proficiency, and increased ability with your fingers and your blowing and everything translates to a smoother way to express yourself musically. But you don't want to lean too far to either side, right? If it's 100% technicality, then where's the heart, right? But if you...
And it's also just you join these things because you want to get better and you want to play more, but then eventually they become the reason in and of itself. And the rediscovering is because you've set yourself up in these scenarios to learn and to play and to push yourself. Then you're beholden to them, to those systems that you've created for yourself, the commitments you've made and whatnot. That's why I've been very slow to kind of eke my way into and finding groups that are kind of doing it for similar reasons, or at least are okay with me, getting better and whatnot. So
Yeah, this is part of why one would hope that we can always push toward more and more groups, right? This is part of why education is so important as a community, because if you have, several dozen groups within your geographical area, then if you want to go for it and get really competitive, you've got options. And if you want to not do that, you've also got options. Whereas if
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
only one group within driving distance, you got to do it like them, or you're by yourself, and that an either or
Yeah, yeah.
scenario is not ideal.
Yeah,
don't
you
have
can find
options.
you can find your tribe.
Yeah.
And yeah. And so, but yeah, I mean, and then also I put on, at the same place that they did the Dickens Ball, I just organized a Kaylee.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, so I mean, I did one last year because we did someone when we were in the UK, and they're just a ton of fun. And so for our 20th wedding anniversary, we put together a Kaylee for all of our friends and stuff, and we got a band and whatnot. And so I kind of knew who to call, and so I'm just like, I'd like these to come to be, because it's just in our culture we've really lost like dancing, like it's not really a thing anymore.
Yeah.
There's ostensibly there's clubbing, I guess, is the the last vestige of it.
Yeah.
Then there are these Dickens balls, the Old Glory dancers. So using the channels through the Hibernian Society, through the Scottish Association and whatnot, I'm just going to organize one. So I'm just like, well, let's do it as a fundraiser for whatever. And then like, okay, Wasatch District, which is my teacher's band. I'm like, okay, let's do it as a fundraiser for that. And so we started to push, flyers out everywhere. And we got, this happened last Saturday. And we got 80 people out. We had Shawnahey, which is the great Celtic local band. And we had a great caller, Alice Drake. And everyone was just super into it. Like the energy level was really high, and we just did it at the South Jordan Center, and it was great. It was great. And I might try to do one in the fall, maybe down in Utah County. I know there's another group and another caller down there. And now that I know the pieces, I kind of want to just keep these happening.
That's
They're
awesome.
just. They're great. They're just super fun. And like once you try them, you're like, oh, this is, because like no one knows the dance. You learn as you go, and it's just a great way to kind of soak in the culture and just interact with people. So that's another kind of like side thing that I'm trying to like want to kind of get into a cadence where people know about it and it can kind of grow over time.
Yeah. Oh, that's super cool. That's man, well, shoot. Once again, here I am wishing that I could be sitting here saying to you, yeah, I was there last weekend and that was a lot of fun. Damn it. Come on down to Utah.
Oh, sorry.
Do one down here for me.
Yeah. Well, I know there's a group. Isn't there? There's an Irish group.
Yeah,
that plays
that's
at, like, the
Joe
library
Perry's
and stuff.
group. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was gonna
do, or I think I'm not pronouncing it right.
Yeah,
But something like that.
yeah. So I know that there's a lady that does Irish dancing calling. So I'm gonna reach out to them and try to do something in late summer, fall, with them, just and in Utah County, see if we can find a location and whatnot. So if you want to help organize it, that'd be great. I just the thing is, like, I'm not trying to make any money. I'm just like, I want these things to happen, and I think that they're valuable. And so it's just like with playing. It's just like I'm just trying to make this happen because people enjoy it, and then if occasionally I'll get tips or I'll make money on something, but like making that secondary has really been a good principle for me.
Well, Tim, I think that's noble and good. So here, tell you what. I'll help you get one set up down here, and we'll do it for good purposes. And then whatever money does come of it, I'll just take the money. Then you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah. It's fine.
It's a good arrangement, right?
Whenever money comes in, there's always drama. So it's just like Yeah. So
I totally understand
yeah.
that, but I would be happy to help. I love the social dance kind of stuff that the Old Glory vintage dancers put together. Is like, it's one of the things that my wife and I have found so difficult to convince our friends and family of, trying to get them to go with us to these things. It's like people are intimidated, and it's like, no, you don't understand. None of us know. None of us know what to do. I mean, some of us start to get an idea after we've done it so many years in a row, right? But the whole idea is you don't know what to do. The caller tells you what to do. You just do what they say, and it's so much fun,
Yeah, and it definitely is we've kind of built some social walls around some of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so.
Hello, friends. Just a quick note to make you aware, this podcast is something that I love doing, and I will keep doing it no matter what. But if you want to send me money, I won't say a nay. The easiest way to do that is through Patreon. Just go to patreon.com/droningonpodcast. We do regular drawings for bagpipey albums, books, sheet music, and more, including Droning On swag. All patrons are in the figurative hat from whence the names of winners are drawn, and there are other benefits to members as well. They're all listed there at patreon.com/droningonpodcast. And speaking of swag, another way to support the show is to buy cool stuff from my little online shop, bagpipeswag.com. There you can find Droning On stuff, as well as other pipey and drummy things that my friends and I make. And if you feel so inclined, I genuinely invite you to follow the show on Facebook. It's super fun to have a way to interact over there, to discuss past episodes, and I also like to bounce ideas off of you, my friends, ask you for input on upcoming interviews, that kind of stuff. I'd like to invite you to join in on virtual book clubs and probably lots of other cool stuff that I just haven't even thought of yet as of this recording. It's easy to find. Just get on Facebook and search Droning On Podcast. And if Instagram is more your jam, we're also on there at droning.on.podcast. You can also email the show at thedroningonpodcast@gmail.com. And links to these sites, social media accounts, and more are in the show notes. Leaving the show a positive rating and review helps others to find it, so feel free to do that. And thank you again for listening, you cool human you.
So yeah, I mean, that's the thing, is I've just got my toes in a lot of different things.
That's super cool, though. Tim, it also comes to mind that I guess maybe you never knew him if you weren't with Wasatch at the right time. My good friend Zach Lees, who passed away a little while ago in 2019, he played with Wasatch for a while. Did you meet?
Well, didn't he? Was he the one that played with the different bands?
He did. He hopped around a bunch of different bands. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I've heard legend of him, and he was very much trying to get the bands to kind of, interact with each other, and it seems like he was definitely on a mission.
Yeah, that was a big focus for him. And one of the things that his brother and Kevin, another of our friends, and I have talked about doing to memorialize him is to develop a side-scroller shooter game where the weapon is a set of bagpipes, and the portfolio of sound effects would be all created using sound effects, so instead of like a pew pew, it'd be like come from the drones.
Well, hey, like I mean, have you watched the rise of the on the PC? There's a game called Trombone Hero.
Oh yes, that was definitely part of the inspiration is seeing Trombone Hero. Yeah.
yeah. So like, I mean, just a straight up bagpipe hero.
Totally.
Figuring out a way to do bagpipes on a console could get pretty interesting.
Yeah.
But I mean, I do a lot of video game development as well, so we should chat about it.
We've got a lot of reasons to stay in touch.
Yeah.
Well, tell me a little bit more too. I want some more like filler info about you, Tim. Like, you've given me some good ideas of what's taken up your focus, energy, and time here. But I am curious though. Is playing games still something that you do, or if creating them is your job, do you find it ever difficult to like sit around a Monopoly board?
I do have to force myself a little bit more too, because making games is different. People think that it's just playing games all the time. It's different. You're trying to analyze yourself as you play. Yeah. How am I feeling at this moment? And being very analytical. And I've given talks. I do organize a conference called Tabletop Network for tabletop game designers, and I've given I gave a talk at GDC about Burgle Bros. So I have plenty of thoughts about design and the process and the iteration. But a lot of times I do find myself having to really, force myself or schedule time to just play games for fun, which I believe is what I'm doing this afternoon.
There you go.
With my neighbors. I'm just gonna play some games and have some fun, because almost always I'm just like, how can I, when I'm playing a game, I'm like, well, what can I learn from this game? Or very often I'm just like, hey, I have this new idea. Do you guys want to try it? Mm-hmm. So I end up, playtesting ends up being a lot of my time. And yes, it's similar to how competitive piping can take away from your love of the sport, or as it were. Similar with board games, it's like you can, once you're into the realm of pursuing design and refinement and exploring new design spaces, you can lose kind of the love for just the experience.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Hmm.
But yeah.
that it's super interesting. What if, like, do you ever have time to like watch TV shows, or is your life so filled up with creative endeavors?
No, no. I'm a consumer of pop culture. Like whatever's big and popular, I'll usually, make sure I'm up on stuff.
Yeah.
Because it's like when everyone's talking about a show a lot, I'm just like, okay, I'll watch that to see what everyone's talking about.
See what they're talking about. Yeah.
I do get a little pickier. There's a web page called Rating Graph, where it ranks the IMDb ratings of every episode of a series, so you can actually see exactly when it jumps the shark.
I see. So you know right
in the
when to
age
stop.
of yeah, like, or maybe you can just watch some of the better episodes and whatnot.
Yeah.
So like, I will get like I will kind of research things now. When it comes to, there's just so much content that, like, unless I really get it recommended, or see that it's got really good ratings, I won't really watch it, because it's like there's so much mediocre things on Netflix and all the streaming and on movies that I'm just like, okay, where's the good stuff?
Yeah.
And I do kind of get picky there, because even with just the good stuff, there's so much to watch.
There's so much.
So
we are like what's the, like, starving
The
for
golden
too
age?
many choices or something like that. Like there's so many choices that you get overwhelmed by that. Well,
yeah, and I love the storytelling, and I love all the different things that are going on with the different media right now. So I love to analyze and talk about that as well, just as a consumer of pop culture. And maybe it's because I don't have any consistent coworkers. Anybody who I end up cornering, I'll end up talking about whatever my favorite show or movie is recently. So.
Well, Tim, I hate feeling like I'm cutting this off, because I've been enjoying talking with you so much. Maybe we could talk again sometime. Maybe we could do anher interview.
Yeah. Or just get together.
Yeah, absolutely. If not with the small piping, then with something else. It sounds like we got a lot of reasons to. But
it'd be fun.
The way I usually go out with these episodes is I just kind of like fade out on something. So I wonder, without putting you under too much pressure, if there's anything that you might like to say. I don't know, about the joy of music, or remembering to have fun, or anything like that, and we'll kind of fade to a graceful close.
Yeah, I mean, most of it's just about just follow through with all these different pursuits that I've done. Is just 99% of it is really just seeing it to a goal, picking a goal, and just getting all the way there. Because it's so easy to pick up something and not see it through. So pick a recital that you want to work towards, or for me, it's like kickstarting a board game or whatever. And I've just found that like 95% of people just don't finish things. So most of it is just having the grit to follow through on a personal goal of your own is just healthy and satisfying.
That's a perfect close, Tim. So that's what we'll use. But let me tell you, honestly, Tim, if you're willing, I'll send you a follow-up email. I really would like to interview you again, and maybe this time with a specific focus on exactly that. Maybe this is just me being selfish, but that's what the show has been a lot of times in the past, and I think it works out okay. I feel like if something is calling to me, it's probably calling to somebody else too, right? But
sure.
I feel like I'm probably not
flexible.
the only one that, like, I feel like I also have too many ideas, way more ideas than there is time, and sometimes, man, it's like that mantra of like done is better than perfect sometimes is really needed to be like, I just got to do this, instead of carrying the weight of the idea around with me for months or even years at a time and feeling like a failure because I still haven't done anything with it, just got to do something.
Yeah, but there's a whole thing that I could go on with, like how to manage your own creativity. Like I have a lot of thoughts around that. Particularly like, Ze Frank has an old video years ago called Brain Crack, where you can get, addicted to the idea of someday releasing this thing or someday doing this thing. And you kind of use it as a comfort for yourself. Yes. Where you're like, oh, I'm so excited about when that's going to happen. So whenever I'm sad, I can be like, oh, I'm going to do that someday. And that makes you feel better. But then that comfort prevents you from actually finishing it, because then you can't use it as your blanket anymore.
Wow.
Because then it's in the real world. And so you can kind of get addicted to the idea of someday doing a thing in a particular domain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so many of us
yes, I
have those like specific to our bagpiping that we're like, someday I'm going to do a YouTube series. Someday I'm going to write songs. I'm going to get a lathe and learn how to turn pipes. I'm going to start a podcast.
Yeah.
You know, like all kinds of things that we think like that. I really think that kind of conversation. I would love to have that conversation with you, Tim.
Yeah.
let's
do it.
I'll send you an email. I've got a bunch of things going on today, but I'll probably by this